resumption this week of lawmakers in the House of Representatives was overshadowed by a wave of defections as two lawmakers from Enugu State left the Labour Party for the People's Democratic Party, followed by a major shift in Delta State where all PDP representatives, including the longest-serving member of the House of Representatives, Nicholas Mutu, defected to the All Progressives Congress, leaving PDP without any seats from the state. Arise correspondent Adeswagiwa Osage reports.
Parties that are going to get adjudication in this matter must be present before we adjudicate it.
The House of Representatives Committee on Public Petitions has given Governors Hyacinth Aliyah of Benue State and Dauda Lawal of Zamfara State, along with their state assembly leaders, a one-week deadline to appear before it in relation to the suspension of lawmakers in both states since February of 2024. This follows a petition filed by a group called the Guardians of Democracy.
We are asking them to look at it and where they still see they can exercise jurisdiction to take over the functions of lawmaking of these two different houses.
Section 11(4) of the Constitution allows the National Assembly intervention in a state legislature only when the body can no longer perform its functions and only upon presidential request.
The question is whether or not we, the National Assembly.
Well, interesting times indeed for Nigerian politics, but to try to make sense of it all, especially on the emerging fear that Nigeria might be on a fast lane to becoming a one-party state, even before the next general election in 2027, we are now being joined here on the morning show by Dr. Chima Nnaji, a lawyer, politician, and policy analyst. Good morning and welcome to the morning show. We're happy to have you join us this morning to speak on these issues, as you'd see, have become almost the order of the day. Now, again, just beginning the conversation on a very, very straight foundation, defections or one-party states, the fear that is looming on this issue. What are your thoughts on it, especially as, you know, that phrase, one-party states, continues to resound in the ears of different Nigerians? Is it a fear that we should be worried of? Does it exist? Is it an issue is it a non-issue that we're making an issue out of? Dr. Chima Nnaji, your thoughts on this?
A very good morning, Kachi and Steve.
Good morning.
I'm glad to be here. Well, the issue of defection seem to be on the front burner for different reasons for different people that are defecting. But I believe that the common denominator is the weakness of the judiciary to checkmate by way of, to checkmate this phenomenon by way of enforcing the constitutional provisions. Because the glee and the impunity with which many of these politicians now do the cross-carpeting and the fanfare with which they are received by the very political party that seem to be in power at the center leave so much to be desired. This is not the first time, though, but attempts were made in the past, and the law discouraged it. I believe that the provisions of the Constitution under Section 68, 1G are very, very clear. And now you have a situation where, like is provided for in Section 68, 2 of that same Constitution, that the Speaker or the President of the Senate or whoever should give effect to that particular Section 68, 1G. But when the pastor himself is indulging in sin, what will be happening to the congregation that should be asking for forgiveness through the man of God? So all of them are impari delicto. Everybody is in relation in sin. That is the situation we even find in the case of Rivers State, when some people said they were decamping, and the speaker and everybody is part of it. The same thing in Delta State that just recently happened. So who will salvage the situation? That is the question. If the judiciary is not going to be hard in enforcing the provisions of the Constitution. Many of them know that there is no, in many of the cases, that there is no serious division in their parties, which the Constitution, the Supreme Court has ruled in the case of Abogunde and others, that it is when the political party has a division at the national level. Sometimes people contrive these situations at the state level to give effect to their motive and desire to cross carpet. Many of these cases are the self-preservation. In the case of many people thinking that results are written these days, if you go to court, you don't win anything. You want to retain your seat, then you cross over to the ruling party and vice versa. And of course, even at the executive level, it is encouraged, being that the executive level seems to control the legislative levels at the various states. And even at the center, it's a tragedy. But I can tell you that when weevils congregate and head towards a bag of beans, and if they are allowed entry, at the end of the day, the owner of that bag of beans will be left with nothing, because the weevils will eat the beans. So maybe there might be a different story at the end of the day when everybody congregate in the ruling party. The good, the bad, the ugly, they will cancel themselves out.
All right, Dr. Nnaji, thanks for setting the tone for this very important conversation. And I like the fact that you brought in the legal aspect of it. Many people who would discuss this subject will look at it from the legal angle and the moral angle. But then I'd like you to expand your thoughts on the legal angle. When you say that you quoted Section 68 1G, and you, of course, highlighted what the law says regarding the fact that cross-carpeting or defection can be allowed if there is sufficient proof of issues within the national body of a political party. And people will argue, in the case of PDP, for example, take Delta State, where the governor and his entire cabinet, lawmakers, local government chair, moved from their party en masse to the APC. The argument is that it is not just because they want to share, they want to be closer to the federal, but because there are issues too at the federal level. And we know that PDP, as of today, is factionalized. If you look at the two lawmakers, Labour Party, who were elected on the platform of Labour Party in Enugu State, who have also defected, the argument will be that Labour Party at the national level is also in tatters, and therefore the law sides with them to move on if they think that another party will cater to their needs. Do you think that that is sufficient? That's the first part of my question. The second part will be the moral question. We've had many of the politicians, former Governor Wike, who's now a minister, who has always used the allegory of cancer and malaria, and the morality of leaving the platform that elected you to go out to another party. And you can see it in what he's doing, that he seems to be concerned about that, which is why he hasn't formally left PDP, but is working for an APC government. Do you think that there is moral bankruptcy in what we are witnessing at this point? And where do you lay the blame, Dr. Nnaji?
Steve, let me start by saying that even in marriage, the marriage institution is an ordained institution from God, recognized by man, and the law ensures that that institution is sacrosanct from the whims and caprices of even the people who are engaged in that contract. So it is not at any whimsical level that you just say, I want to divorce. The law will always maintain a guard to make sure that that institution works. That is the same thing in this political setting. That section of the Constitution, not even just Electoral Act, is to make sure that when you get a mandate from a political party, because the law is very settled, that it is the political party that is contesting the election, you are just holding that position in trust. So you now steal that political party's mandate when you are crossing over. You are in possession of stolen property. So that section of the law, or the Constitution indeed, is to ensure the sacrosanctity of that mandate willingly given by the people, or at least given by the people, whether willingly or by contrivance. But the important thing is that the mandate has been given, in our experience, I mean, that this political party is the one that has won this election, and the other one now wants to cross over to the, or being lured by whatever contraption. Now, the constitutional provision is such that before you do that crossover, that impediment must be crossed about the issue of national division. And it is not a whimsical interpretation. It is that the court must, if, for example, in the circumstance we have that the speaker, who is supposed to be vested with the responsibility, given the constitutional provision under 68(2), in the presumption that a speaker of a house or House of Representatives is a responsible person with integrity that has an ethical orientation to politics, not easily swayed by pepper soup or rice, or jollof rice, as Ruben will always want to make reference to, jocularly. The point is that that office has been bastardized, a situation where even speakers themselves join the bandwagon of defection. It is only the court that must stand guard to this moral depravity that we are seeing in our national politics. What you now find is a situation where people contrive divisions in their political party and insist, even without reason, that that contraption or division is there. They will never agree to any settlement because they have a destination. And until they execute that purpose, they will never agree to any settlement. Most of the problems you'll find in many political parties are not intractable. They are not. The political parties are still intact. There are some people who are saying that they are taking a function, or it is just to create a facade that the political party is under duress, and then to enable them achieve their particular aim. So, what I am saying is that it is the court that ordinarily should, and this is no longer the era of judicial activism. Even the issue of executives crossing over. Yes, the Constitution did not say anything against that, but a judicial activist judge, a judge that, like all those justices of the past, Oputa, Kayode, and so on, would have given philosophical interpretation that would have made it difficult for executives to cross over. Because, yes, they have the mandate of the people, and they think that wherever they go, the people will go. No, it is not so. They still use the institution of a political party. That the Constitution did not state that does not necessarily mean that an activist judge cannot tamper with that particular notion and set a precedence. Because the way we are going, there is so much confusion in the political terrain that governance is derailed, and people incompetence hides under the canopy of confusion. That is the truth of the matter. So nobody is talking about governance now. People are talking to 2027. What a sheer arrogance, as if you can manufacture life. Who is sure that even in the next 1 week, the way people die these days, that some of them will not disappear from the surface of the earth? So it is mere arrogance to continue to play God by saying that you are projecting power for 2027 and depriving some people who ordinarily should have lived life for today because of misgovernance. That is the point we are making. So the issue of defection, the moral aspect of it is as strong as the legal aspect, but the issue is that it has to be enforced by a higher body that claims not only authority, but also morality. And that should have been the court. But it appears that we are modeled up generally.
Modeled up generally. Let's expand on that. Of course, with power increasingly concentrated in one party. Now, do you believe Nigeria's institutional guardrails, like the courts, INEC, civil society, do you think they're strong enough to defend their own provisions, in the sense that, for instance, none of the recent defectors have vacated their seats? The speaker even welcomed them into the new party. Why is there such an enforcement gap between what the law stipulates and what happens on the ground? Is this loopholes in the law, lack of political will, or the need for a court order? And how can this disconnect be addressed so that constitutional provisions like what you've mentioned in Section 68 are taken seriously?
You see, we are much more stronger in circumventions than creative inventions that will move society forward. Progressive interpretation is no longer the order of the day. Retrogressive manipulations seem to be the field of today. Everybody is looking at the law in how to exploit it for personal gains. Every group is looking for how to contrive situations that will tailor the law in their own interpretation. The law remains the law. It remains inviolate, but interpretation will differ. And when the authority that is given, the body that is given the imprimatur of authority to interpret the law, either by compromise or somehow omission, because either by omission or commission is the same thing, does not do its job, then the society will be receiving the short end of justice. And that is why we are having issues today. You see all manner of characters, people that should ordinarily have nothing to do with politics. Politics is supposed to be a noble profession, a noble call, not necessarily a profession. A noble call to service. But people today insist that they must serve you. One time I ran an election in those days, 2007. I told people that I am like a cleaner. If I say I want to come and clean your house, and you say your house is clean, if I insist on taking my broom into your compound, then I've come to steal. It's not by force. So the way governance is done now, politics is done do or die, even without voicing it out. But the practice is do or die. It must come my own way. And like many people know today that politics is not about service. It is self-aggrandizement. And when they now do the stealing, they look for refuge. That is all you see this movement about. It is not for love of APC. It is that the umbrella of APC have been offered. The former chairman, who was quoted as saying so, that your sins are forgiven once you come at them. So Shomole, whether it was misquoted or not, but that is a popular quotation in the public square now, that your sins are forgiven once you declare for APC. So people have learned that the only way you do damage in the other side. Just yesterday, somebody was kicking, an APC member was kicking that people from Delta have joined them in the APC. And he was insisting that they should leave their old baggage and all that. But it is not possible. If you must travel, you carry a baggage.
All right, Dr. Nnaji, I was going to ask you if the law is being fully tested as far as cross-carpeting defections are concerned. But of course...
if the law is what, sorry?
It's been tested. It's been properly tested.
Okay.
As of today. But then you reference what is happening in Rivers State, although there's an interregnum at the moment. But I'm sure that the state will return to addressing that lacuna of who defected, did they actually defect. But then on many newspapers today are addressing some of the things that PDP intends to do. And I think that it's today's Tribune that even made a lead out of the story, saying that PDP is set to drag defectors to court. If that happens, what do you think should be the expectations of constituents, who elected these people specifically through a particular platform? But then the politicians are now going another way. What should be the expectations of the constituents, of the voters, and the generality of Nigeria? And then to address the elephant in the house, do you think that we are sliding somehow into a one-party, or to the potential of a one-party state?
Let me start with your first question. You see, in politics, we have gradation of thieves. The thief that has a pickup and that is mobile will come and carry refrigerator stolen by the one that has just taken it from somebody's house and kept it looking for transport. Okay? They are all thieves. But the only thing is that the one that has mobility has the capacity of higher level stealing. For example, if PDP says it's going to court, what will happen to those they gleefully accepted as having defected from Labour Party, for example, or even APC and some other parties? They are all guilty of the same thing. The only thing is that the gradation at which, the level at which this thing happened. When you have received a stolen good and the other one receives stolen goods, you are all guilty of the same thing. Yeah? The quantity of goods is immaterial. It is the fact of receiving that stolen good. When YPP, when the late Ifan Yobad defected from YPP to APC, it was received with applause, and nobody tested it. They don't test it because they are hoping that they will also benefit from the same sin that the other parties are committing against them. So it's difficult now to have even the moral basis. There's a legal ground to test it, but there is no moral basis to take steps. Now, with respect to the issue of whether the defection will lead to one-party state and all that, it is not possible. When I talked about the weevil and the sack of beans, it is that all those people who are doing defection come with their baggages. And then when they congregate in that same party, they will do what they know best. They will spoil it. So it's not going to be possible. Nigeria is a plural society. You can only try, but you will never succeed. We've seen a lot of shenanigans, contrivances, maneuvers, manipulations in the past, in either trying to achieve third term or fourth term or transmute from military to civilian. When the chiefs are down, the forces that are holding Nigeria in the air will unleash. I told somebody in a private discussion, physics people and those will always calculate all the forces that are holding aeroplane in the air. But you cannot see those forces. There's no rail, there's no land. Yet the aircraft flies. Once it is airborne, all those forces, spiritual or otherwise, they will unleash and hold the plane to its destination. So when we get there, we will see. Nigeria has not been a product of our agitations. What we do to agitate has not been enough to keep Nigeria the way it is. It is that at the final minute, the last minute, when those who are intent on killing this country are about to unleash themselves, something happens naturally and sometimes maliciously against such people to teach that lesson. So people should be rest assured that we can never end up in a one-party situation. Nature has provided for plurality. You have two eyes. Some people have the third one they call the third eye. We have two legs. It's a spare tire. The other leg can be hanging. The other one will be standing. You can close your eyes and see, but you will not see everything. But when the eye is gone, there's a lateral functionality. The other one would transfer the function. But we know that was not by manipulation. So the issue is that naturally we are a plural society. And that plurality must be given vent and oxygen. If it is not done willingly, it will be done by force of nature. I can assure you that. The third question, I can't remember exactly the third question. There's a third leg to your question.
There wasn't a third leg, but I just wanted to...
Hello?
Can you hear me, sir?
Sorry?
Can you hear me, Dr. Nnaji? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay,
I can hear you now.
I was saying that there was no third leg, but I can add an addendum to it. That was why I wanted to butt in the other time. The forces that you referred to, where are they? Who are they? Are they physical? Are they spiritual? Are they psycho-spiritual? At what point will the matters of Nigeria interest them, galvanize them into action? If they were not galvanized in 2023, would they likely be galvanized in 2027? Who are these forces, Dr. Nnaji?
In 2023, there was no attempt at making Nigeria a one party. I said at the critical point when Nigeria is being pushed to the abyss, those forces come in. We don't know the forces. Like I made allusion to airplane. You where you're standing, you see the airplane flying. Do you know the forces holding it? Even the physicists may be calculating the centripetal, centrifugal forces, this and that, are holding and that. That is grammar. But there must be other dimensions, other forces that we cannot place our hands on. What does it matter to a levirate child? When his father dies, during festivity, he opens his two hands. Chicken on the other side, egg on the other side. He doesn't care about who put it there. The important thing is that he has meat to eat. So that is the point I'm making. And it happens naturally. People wake up in the morning, they don't know what to eat. They don't have anything to eat. They step out. And by providence, food comes, one way or the other. And they have been living and sustained by that. People call it grace of God. God loves this country. And that is why, at the appropriate time, he unleashes his power by way of positive intervention to save this country from abyss, from being destroyed by the malicious intention of some greedy few. So that is the point I'm making. I don't know where the forces can come from, but I have seen those forces work. I feel them work. We saw them in previous leadership that wanted to transmute one way or the other in contravention of the grand norm of this country. And those particular forces are not asleep. God has not given up on Nigeria.
Thank you so very much, Dr. Chima Nnaji. God has not given up on Nigeria. The forces holding the powers of Nigeria are not asleep. Thanks for your candid intervention.